I should start.
Yes.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, I forgot. Hey everyone, my name is Diana Njoki and welcome to the Dadas Voices podcast. So I am from Nairobi and we're doing this in Sweden, Stockholm. So all y'all are going to introduce yourselves and where you come from, which part of Sweden, basically. Yeah.
I'm Sarah. I'm from Kista, which is in the north part of Stockholm.
I'm also from the north part of Stockholm, and my name is Nikhail. I live like 2 stations away from Sarah.
And I'm also from Stockholm, kind of close by. I'm from Stockholm Tensta, which is like 5 minutes away from them. So we're all kind of semi-close.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, we are all part of the Dadas Voices project. So me on the Kenyan side and them on the Swedish side. So I think first we would explain what Dadas Voices is. So who wants to go first?
I can go first. I think I forgot to mention my name earlier. It's Esma. Hi. But the way I see that as Voices is a project to empower females and young women through media. So through digital storytelling, through these skills that we've gotten to kind of learn through workshops and interacting with professionals, and working on an actual project. And these are like skills that we can make use of in the future as well to tell our stories, to get our stories out into the world.
I think that's about it.
Yeah.
To be honest.
So for those who do not speak Swahili, Dadas is Swahili for sisters. So this is a project that was started in 2020, the Voices in Spaces, when Artemida and Aisha came to Kenya. So that was the seed project, and so this is like a continuation of the same, seeing the situation of women in Kenya and in Stockholm. So yeah, that's what Dadas Voices is. So how did you guys get involved in the project?
I mean, I got involved through last year's summer job, and it was basically we were supposed to make a movie, like a somewhat personal movie. And then I think it was a coincidence that I was just sketching like during break, and then Artemida saw me draw. Then she contacted me after the summer job, maybe in September, and asked if I wanted to be a part of a project.
And for me, it was the same. We worked on the same summer job last summer. And during the summer job, I made some animations with Procreate with the help of Artemida. And so after that, she asked me if I wanted to be a part of the project.
Nice. I've been kind of working on Unga Berättar for a while. So I was working here, and I got approached by Artemida, yay, and my boss, and asking if I wanted to be on this project, if I was interested, and I was like, yo, what's it about? And they're like, yo, this is it. And I was like, yo, I'd love to. Sounds great. Sounds sick. And here I am today.
Yeah, Artemida just sounds like an agent. She's like
the
going.
connector.
Yeah, so I got involved the same way because I forgot to say, the project is collaborative, so between Unga Berättar and Hope Praises, which is the organization that I work for. So I was also working at Hope Praises before the project started. So I was approached by Daniel, who is the director and the founder of Hope Praises, and then he was like, this is what we will be doing, so would you like to be part of it? And I was like, yeah, sure. It's an opportunity to learn something new. And that's how I also got involved in it. So, yeah, not a fun story, but it got there. So, when we were doing the project in Kenya, so we had a lot of different activities, which I know the difference between our films is that ours was more, physical creation of the characters, and you guys used more Procreate digital means. So for us, our activities were really, really fun. It's like being a kid again. So you get manila paper and you draw characters and you color them, and doing different, because we combined doing like live action and the animation as well. So yeah, we did a lot of that, and basically online workshops with Artemida, Wilhelmina, with Aisha. Yeah. So what activities do you guys do?
I remember us having this like storytelling workshop where we kind of learn how to but it was kind of like a walkthrough on like how to tell your story, the importance of telling your story, and we did some like exercises, one of them including like writing a letter to yourself, which I thought was very, very nice. It was a very nice exercise, a little bit empowering. But we've also just kind of worked a bit more independently because of COVID. So because of the restrictions, we've had to kind of like work over distance, check in with each other, follow kind of like tutorials in my case. But we've had like times where we've sat and like just worked or sat at a cafe and just, chatted.
Yeah. I think that's, I mean, it feels like our activities were more, less exciting than yours, because we legit just sat down and just like drew for hours. Not much physical activity.
I think that's one aspect that I found really like nice in your movies, that it was a lot of like paper cutouts or like drawings, and I really liked the ones that were like mixed as well, with like some drawings and then some like real people, and it's like whoa, what's coming next? So it's nice, but it would have been nice to have like to touch on that too.
Yeah.
Or mix as well.
Ooh,
some of that.
Mixing would have been great.
And then some of Procreate.
Like transitioning from like paper art to like digital art, or like from digital to paper.
Yeah, I mean the project isn't over yet, so
True.
we can still do that. So also because we were doing it as a means of storytelling, right? So how did you choose the stories that you decided to tell?
I just thought about my life, really, and then just picked something that I thought would be interesting and that I really wanted to talk about, because I haven't seen it so much. So yeah.
What was your story, like real quick for the people who don't know?
It was about living in Sweden but having Persian parents. So here I'm considered as an immigrant, and then in Iran I'm more Swedish. So what am I? Yeah, but that's it.
This little like identity in between.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, since the whole story was like revolving around importance, I just chose like a general, I don't know, what felt more in general than how other people could relate to it, I guess. And it was about like, at the end, eventually prioritizing yourself above other people, like caring about yourself, and stop pleasing people, I suppose. Yeah.
How did you feel that was like the story you needed to tell? Was there like a journey to finding that story, or?
I mean, yeah, I suppose that when I was younger, I was very like narrow-minded and just thought about material things are important to me because it brings me happiness. But then it was like, I have no relationships with other people, and life sort of became very dull. But then it also became dull when I did have friends, because it wasn't like fulfilling what I was expecting, and then it was just a very big disappointment. So eventually I just prioritized myself instead, I suppose. Yeah.
That's nice. I like that we all kind of like went like from the inside out. I don't know, I feel like that makes the stories better. The way I found my story was kind of through the exercise we did in the writing workshop, because the starting sentences of my story are the exact same as the ones I wrote in that letter. So my story is kind of just like a letter to myself at different ages. So I'm like I'm talking about like when I was young, when I was like teenager, and it's just a little letter to me in the future too. Like, yo, haha. It's a little like, yo, keep ha-haing,
Keep
you know?
ha-haing. Yeah. That's a nice one. Keep ha-haing. Yeah. You should like have that printed.
Oh, I'm copywriting it after the work. Like after this, you're gonna see a little like C symbol at the top of it.
Yeah. So I think my story was the same. So I also got the idea from the workshop as well, but it was also about the same as you, just prioritizing myself, because in Kenya we don't prioritize more on arts, so it's seen as something you do to waste your time. So if you have time to waste, that's basically what you do, and there's no respect generally in the art industry. So when I was a kid, I was like, oh, I love dancing, I love singing, I love doing all that stuff. But then as you grow older, they tell you, stop, So my story was just about going back and finding, my identity and things that I felt made me happy without having to think about, oh, how does me doing this affect somebody else? And which was kind of like a theme for us on our side, because we had a lot of personal stories and a lot of things that were, a lot more sensitive than, basic stories. And since we worked in groups, it was mostly, oh, do I relate to this story more than I do the other one? So I'll work with this one. So we had like a football team. So the people who were interested in football worked on the football story. So people interested in arts worked on an artistic story. People interested in peace and, love and unity, basically the Jamaican stuff, they were in one group. And then others that related to story about, men being men.
Men being men.
Yeah, men being men. Sorry if I offend anyone. But yeah, so like disappointments that people face in like their marriages and stuff like that. So yeah, that was our common theme on our side. It was basically just the things that we had to give up and then find again so that we could be ha-haing again. Yeah. So it was like really fun also, because it was, working with different media. So you create things that you feel would have an impact, creating the scenes and all that. And like we were also, in the process we had to learn about photography, editing, videography, all that stuff. But also it reminded us that, one of the lessons that we learned personally was that once you tell your story, you realize how far you've come from, the point that you were at. So I felt like that was a really big thing, and it was really important for us to recognize that. So I also wanted to know, did you guys like learn anything like outside of the animation and the scripting and the storyboarding?
Proper time management. Like, it was so all over the place. I had to manage studying for my tests, doing my assignments, and also doing this before the deadline. And it was just like, sometimes I just like procrastinate to the point where it was like a checkpoint. We had to have like 3 scenes drawn. I just do it the night before. It was just really, really exhausting.
Yeah, it was the same for me. I had school while we were doing the animations, and they take quite a lot of time to make, because there are so many scenes in just one picture. Yeah, so that's probably the thing I learned the most.
for me, it was I also learned some time management because I was also studying while working. So time management, like more awareness on that. And I think a bit more understanding for the flow of animation. Like, because I did it on the iPad, and then I also went, what if I didn't do it on the iPad? So I did on the computer again instead, and just like animated in the editing software we had. So that was like a new little journey for me, kind of like figuring out how to do that. But yeah, time management and animation, like how to make stuff bounce.
So you changed to the computer.
I did both. So what I ended up doing was like I did it on the iPad and made it look like I drew it as a kid, like frame by frame. And then I transitioned to like quote unquote like teenager, and I made it a bit more like cleaner drawings, still on the iPad, looping scenes. And then I made the adult ones on my computer. So I drew little like pictures, and what I did was like, you know when you have these like paper dolls with like needles at the elbows? Yeah. I did that, but with pictures. So I drew a picture of a hand, a picture of a sleeve, a picture of an arm, a picture of a hoodie, a picture of a face, and I just like I moved all the pieces in the editing software instead.
That sounds like a lot.
Time management.
I think I also learned that I have very limited patience. Yeah. So when you're doing something, then it's not working. I'm like, nah, I'll do this tomorrow. I can't. Not right now.
No, oh my god, I felt that too. Oh my god, I didn't even consider the personal introspect, right?
Yeah.
I think I even had a moment where I was working on it and I couldn't get this one thing right. So I just took like a huge exhale, a little like and just turned it off. I turned it off. I walked away. I was like, okay, let's see if we've got any like bananas in the kitchen. Went to my siblings, started poking at them, annoying them. And I was like, okay, I regained my sanity, and I turned it back on.
Because I think it was like the first time I was doing this. So it was very like, oh, I'm learning how to do it. Oh, this looks fun. And then no, I'm done. I can't.
Yeah, like in the beginning, it was like, okay, this seems really, really fun. And then like midway, you're just like, no, never mind.
Yeah.
Actually, this was a whole scam. No.
I think for me, it was like an up. It was a roller coaster, right? So at the start, I was like, oh, this is going to be so much fun. And then I got so lost at the start. I was like, I don't know what I want to do. And I'm just like staring at my stuff. And I'm like, what do I want to do? And then I figured it out. And I was like, oh, this is going to be so much fun.
Yeah.
And I do it. And I reach this like middle point where I'm like, I want this to be over.
Yeah.
Why am I still doing it? Like, why is it still going? And then, but that was because I was crunching it. Like, I would sit there and just draw. And then I procrastinated a little bit. I was like, let's step away. Let's take a break. And I went back to it and I was like, this is so much fun. Why did I even stop? So it was such a like love-hate relationship of like going in and giving it too much time and too much energy and then stepping back and then coming back to it again. And ha-haing.
Yeah, because we were working with groups as well, so that even makes it even worse because now time management. And then you have like different schedules with everyone, so you have to find a time that works for everyone, or you just divide up the work. So you do this part, you do this part, you do this part, and then you get that call from Wilhelmina, and then she's like, oh, I need you to have done this by Friday, and you're like, which Friday?
This Friday or like Friday?
And then she's like, are you not done? And then no, we're almost done. And you haven't met each other in like 2 weeks, so you're like, okay, so how are we going to do this? So at one point we were rushing through it, and then you come back and then you're like, oh, we have to redo everything because this one part doesn't work very well. And then because we were creating with animation boxes and we were moving the characters, so you had to stand there for a while before you get the amount of frames that you need. That it was a lot, because you have to you get like 12 frames per second, and 12 frames takes you a while because you have to move like, you're not even moving inches, you just like that. You just a bit. It was tiring. But it was fun, and then it was tiring. Once you're done with the whole process, and then you look at it, and then you're like, oh, this looks fun. Yeah.
Right? You look at it and you're like, I made that.
Yeah,
That's my
I
baby
did
right
that.
there. That's my
You're like,
baby.
I did that. Yeah, and then you're like, okay, next scene. No, I don't want to.
Yeah, no, because it is a lot of work.
Yeah.
Okay, to the people out there who haven't animated, like,
Don't.
do, but also don't. Because it's like 12 seconds.
Yeah.
Like 1 second,
1 second.
12 frames.
That's a lot.
10 seconds, that's 120 pictures.
Yeah.
So you have to either like sit there and move something 120 times to get your 12 seconds,
Yeah.
or you need to like sit there and draw something 100. Like you need to like sit there and draw something movement by movement by movement. And think about that next time you see a little, you know, like those old animated
Yeah.
movies, 3 hours.
Mm.
That took like 4 years. Okay. It's
too
something.
much.
Yeah, because like in the one that I'm working with right now, we're making animation film, and in the beginning it was like brainstorming. I was like, this and this and that. Like we should make it like swipe and this. And I was like, you sure it's gonna be so hard for you guys? You know that? And she was like, it'll be fine. Let's talk about the complications later. I was like, okay.
You get so caught up. You're like, oh, it would be so cool if it was like, and it
transition.
Like, oh, and
Yeah.
transition and transformed, and then it's like super fast and super slow, and
I had so many of those ideas from the beginning, and then I took them all away because it was too difficult to animate,
Yeah.
and I didn't have the time.
Yeah.
time management.
Yeah. Time management is a thing. And then the editing process as well is a thing. Yeah.
I feel like the editing process is when you look back and you realize, like, wait a minute, because that's when you look
yeah,
at
like
everything.
I did something.
Mm-hmm.
And then the sound recording. Having to listen back to you. But
Your
I
own
feel like,
voice.
yeah, but it also like made things more complicated because the way you speak, you have to match like the frames to certain parts of your speech. And then you're like, it has to be exactly this. Because if you add this, then it doesn't make sense. It doesn't work. So I felt like even the editing process was like, like, no.